Hello and welcome to the place to be reviews. I'm Etepokuian, right here with all of yous. And you see CW's Batwoman grade the premiere. I'm going to just use this as a screen image here. What we'll do is we'll go down here and we'll look at this picture of big head Batwoman. Just she has the jawline for it, but just not the body. I mean, not to say that Ruby Rose is not an attractive woman. And there's nothing wrong with her body, just for the role. She's very slight. So I'm going to break this down. You know, the opening sequence, it starts with narration by Ruby Rose as Kate Kane. She's swimming underwater in the Arctic, under the ice. Has to remove these handcuffs from her ankles, which she does by swimming to the bottom, retrieving a key, which she does that pretty easily, which way too easy considering the temperatures of the climate in the water. And she's wearing just basically athletic apparel, like athletic bottoms and like a sports bra. And she's literally about 90 pounds soaking wet. I mean, and then, she tries to get out of the same hole. It's, somebody blocked it. There's a plot device right there. We got to overcome this. But, she's able to break out of there without panicking. And she immediately knows what to do. But in the midst of this scene, we get this flashback which helps us understand her backstory and how she became so stunning and brave. Her and her sister and her mother in the car accident, they're hanging off the bridge. Batman shows up to try to help. Something goes wrong with one of the hooks that he deploys to try to brace the car on the bridge. So she's forced to watch as her sister and her mom, go careening off of this side of the bridge to their doom. So we come back to Kate Kane underwater. No oxygen. She just gets the cuff off her ankles and uses it to punch her way through the ice, which is, given the thickness it would be in that, environment, would be next to impossible for a larger and much physically stronger man. But, because my plot, this has already shown how ridiculously OP this character is going to be. And this is preliminarily based on the sheer physical size and muscle mass alone. Based on the metric of that muscle mass to physical strength ratio, she would have failed miserably and just basically met her demise, thus saving me and the rest of us viewing the rest of the train wreck that was Batwoman. A mere 9 to 10 strikes, she burst through the ice, seemingly unaffected by the sub-zero temperatures, as well as the freezing cold water, and her lack of clothing draped over the skeleton of a woman. It didn't come across well to me, not at all. So you see her entering this little, it's like a little hut. She's wet. She's got a towel around her now, but she chastises the guy who's supposed to, find out he's training her. And he's apparently keeping track of her time to escape and return. And upon her entrance, the examination of his stopwatch, he simply says, "Too slow," which Kane replies with kind of a whiny, "You covered the damn hole." The whole scene is just meant to show how much of a badass she is, and she's able to survive in these most extreme conditions, even though she's so diminutive and has no superpowers at all. She's just a normal human being. So, that just goes to show us that she's OP, I'm going to turn it down just a little bit here. We'll go back over here. All right, so we go back to Kane narrating about going back to the beginning and how Gotham got to where it is today. She talks about how she thought Batman abandoned the city like he did her family on the bridge, and this would make for some awkward family gatherings if you think about it, holidays, if they still all hung out, considering Bruce Wayne is her cousin. In this sequence, we're introduced to Crow's security, which is run by Kane's father, and it's bankrolled by his wealthy second wife. So the Crow's forces helped overwhelm Gotham police by handling the massive amounts of crime that's occurred in Batman's absence, because at this point he's been gone for about 3 years. So these roving gangs, and it's funny, it's like, how did the police not increase their budget and for training and weapons and stuff to combat this? But I don't know. So whatever. It's funny. So we see Kane's stepmother and her stepsister arriving at this ceremony. Now they're on this Crow security armored truck, that pulls. It looks like one of those bank trucks. And they get out of there, all dressed up for this social event. So it's kind of funny. But Kane's narration explains the point that the Crows are now like the protectors of Gotham City, it's almost like a military force, paramilitary, private security kind of deal. So we meet Kane's former girlfriend and top agent for her father Jacob's Crow security force, Sophie Moore. Now this is the love interest for Kate Kane. Well, was anyway when she was in the military, blah blah blah, and got kicked out. We'll get to that. So this is the woman she got kicked out of the military for, and Sophie chose to stay instead of leaving with Kate. So we see her checking in with various agents stationed around this event that's going on, which is they're shutting down the bat signal. They're turning it on one more time and then shutting it off for good. So this is a big thing, and Crows is obviously the security force here. So, Sophie Moore is the main agent who is, securing the perimeter. And, she's running point on the perimeter with all the other agents stationed outside, the Gotham police, and then you have the Crows control center, the kind of control room with all the monitors, because they have cameras all over the city. It's almost like Orwellian, the amount of surveillance there. There doesn't really, obviously some cities in America have that now, but it's needed in some places. But anyway, so they are, she's checking around with all the other agents. Jacob Kane is in the security control room, and they try to establish this, Sophie Moore is a serious agent, and kind of give her that authoritative tone that Jacob puts a lot of faith in her abilities. And up to this point, I haven't really talked about it, but the cast is, as far as like the Crows agents go, a very diverse cast. And there's nothing really heavy-handed about it. The main agent point of contact for Sophie Moore in the Crow security control room is she's a female, a black female. A couple of the other agents are black men. Sophie Moore is, I don't know, she's mixed or something. I'm not sure, but she's a person of color. So there is some, if you're watching for that sort of thing, there is. And to this point in the series, I had no issue with it. I have more issue with the dialogue has just been kind of wonky to this point. And like I said, that opening sequence with her under the ice was just kind of laughable at its, non-realism for just a normal human. So we're then treated to some more bat bashing as Catherine Kane, Kate's stepmom, gives a impassioned speech about Batman giving up on Gotham 3 years ago, and he isn't coming back, and her and the mayor are about to turn off the signal and stop this outdated tradition. We then cut to these two GCPD Gotham police officers who are in charge of turning off the signal, and given the timing in their presentation, we know that these two are nothing but fodder for a villain. They have minimal dialogue, and therefore they're obligatorily killed off with no effort. The one guy comes out and he's talking about his kid used to like to look at the bat signal and all this shit, and you're like, oh, well, this guy's dead. There's a couple average officers, nothing really special about them, so they're up on the roof by the bat signal. It's like, these two are going to die. The security control room feed has been cut off. The mayor and the party goers start the countdown to shut it off when both GCPD officers are killed off in an instant with a pair of butterfly knives thrown from an unseen assailant who turns out to be Alice, the leader of the Wonderland gang, which is the worst name ever. She just throws it, and the one idiot just stands there, goes for his radio, doesn't even try to draw his weapon, just goes for his radio and stands straight up, looks around, and whap, he takes one in the chest, and both these guys are done. And of course she walks up with ease, walks up to the camera, and blah blah blah, gives her a little speech. The broadcast feed, so she wipes the blood off her knife and asks the people if they feel safe with the Crows protecting them, and she says one of them won't be going home, but she plans to kidnap basically Sophie Moore, which she doesn't say, but she says one of you won't be going home. This is due to Kane putting so much value on Sophie because she's his top agent. Even though we'll see later, who he's got working for him, Moore is his top field agent, not his brain trust of, kind of like the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but that's he's got that, for his Crow security force and exactly who they're comprised of. But, so she knocks over the camera. Alice does after a little speech, shows the dead Gotham police officer. And then we cut to Moore chasing a masked member of Alice's gang, which is all a ruse to, get her into their cunning trap. Haha. We see some parkour out of him, which just reminded me of The Office. I wanted the bad guy to yell, hardcore parkour, and then jump off the roof. But, she shoots and kills one of them, fights with another one. She gets thrown off a roof onto, in the cartoons, we used to get thrown off the roof, and there's all the people running onto the firemen with, the big thing to catch you with, or the bouncy thing. They basically caught more on that. Wrapped her up, let her go, got her up, knocked her out with a paddle, and, threw her in a van. So it was a ridiculous scene, wonky action. So we go back to the Arctic, and Kate is she's standing there putting this necklace on. You see it's got this little red ruby in it. So it's the way she pays attention to it during the scene, you can tell it's got some significance to it. It's a little deal. She puts it on, and her stepsister calls the satellite phone. The gentleman that she's staying with brings her the phone and tells her that Sophie's been taken. So we flash to, the obligatory hot lesbian kiss scene between Kate and Sophie, which, the actress playing more in Ruby Rose. I mean, Ruby Rose is a very attractive face. Needs the hair. I can do without the Charlie Sheen haircut, but no, I just, she has a very attractive face. She's an attractive woman. She just has a weird haircut and is a little skinny. That's all. But she's not that good of an actress either. This was kind of just it was hard to watch. It took me 3 hours to write this review, so yeah, I suffer for you people, man. So we flash to this kiss scene, and this is when they're in the military, and their relationship is subsequently led to Kate leaving, Sophie staying. And I have to point out first, woke as this show is, and make no mistake, it is woke. But despite that, they still feature a scene with two basically lipstick lesbians kissing. Now, I'm definitely not opposed to this, but doesn't that satiate the male fantasy that this intersectional feminist agenda is trying to extinguish in entertainment? The toxic masculinity that we're wow, we find that kind of thing attractive. It's almost as if they know they won't make it going full-blown woke. They have to include something for the men that Ruby Rose said she didn't want watching her show, or there was other shows that, old white men could watch. So, well, haha, you threw something in for us. So Kate returns to Gotham, narrating the fact she's traveled the world, training with elite combat experts just to be able to join the Crow security forces. And do all the agents do that, or is it just her? I mean, was this just to prove something to Dad? Does she have daddy issues? But, first she's got to find Sophie before she joins the Crows. She's got to do her thing. She's an outlaw. She's a loner, Dottie, a rebel. Jacob Kane is briefing his commanders on the directive of finding Sophie when Kane enters post-meeting. She's reunited with her dad. They share a hug. He takes a shot at her being vegan and her neck tattoo. Damn patriarchy anyway. So, Jacob reassures Kate that they'll find Sophie because the gang is no match for his team of ex-Navy SEALs and Green Berets. Kate, unimpressed by their credentials, because why would she be, replies, "What about me?" I'm going to go full Raven. "What about you?" Or Diamond Dallas Page, This is where we get the famous line, "You take after your cousin. You're a female Bruce Wayne. But unlike him, you actually have a shot at making something of your life." I'm sorry, but wasn't Bruce Wayne a billionaire philanthropist and head of Wayne Enterprises? Nope, he amounted to nothing. Nice job, Greg Berlanti. That's brilliant. You're really getting your people to tell good stories there, bud. Kate insists on helping. Jacob leaves. He says, "I've got to take this phone call." So you cut back to the hot lesbian action scene again, and they talk about their postgraduate plans, and Kate wants to take her on her yacht and all this and that. And, they carve their initials inside the shed. And they're, we're breaking the law. Not defacing, property. And then they get busted kissing. And it's oh, snap. Here comes the scolding from the white male drill instructors that, you can't be lesbians in the military. Which, I don't really give a shit. Who cares? I have no problem lesbians being in the military. Openly gay people being in the military. If you want to serve your country, my hat's off to you. Veterans in my family, so my hat is off to you. Cut to Kane. She's easily breaking into Wayne Enterprises building by scaling a wall, no equipment, just popping a window open because she can. She doesn't know it yet, but she's the Batwoman. There's a flashback of her and playing in Thomas Wayne's office as a child. She's approached by, or probably Bruce Wayne's office, approached by Luke Fox. She tells him that Bruce is her cousin. Fox takes her into custody. She says, spouts off stuff about Bruce, and he says, homeless squatters. I've heard are related to Bruce Wayne. Da 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 da. And he calls the police, which she slips off the handcuffs him to the wall, hacks the computer system, easily gets footage of Sophie's kidnapping from the Wayne security cameras. She says she's doing what the crows can't. You go, girl. So stunning and brave. I mean, it was just funny because, Fox is supposed to be, I think Lucius Fox's, grandson. Or it was just bad. They make, Luke Fox, this guy, looks like a complete wimp. She just handles him, smacks him into a wall with the handcuffs on. But yeah, she's like 90 pounds. So Kane, she goes to her dad's apartment. She walks in a surprise party thrown by her stepmom and sister, and she's bored to death by her stepsister's conversation. Mom comes, greets her, blah, 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 takes sister away for a photo op. Be sure to post positive things on social media so nobody thinks that, this crazy person just attacked the ceremony when we tried to turn off the bat symbol. Whoops, my plot. Go back to another scene with Kate and Sophie after they split up. Sophie's coming out of must have been the office after their official, had to give statements on what happened. And Kate tells Sophie that they don't want you. You know that, right? And Sophie replies with a line that is laced with inequality level virtue signaling and says, I don't have the luxury of being offended by that. Which the subtext implied that is, even though they're both lesbians, Kate being a white lesbian who happens to come from a rich family, as opposed to Sophie, who's a lesbian and a person of color, I believe she did not come from a wealthy background, gives her the ultimate victim status, and thusly she has achieved ascension to the utmost marginalized. Now, if only she were transgender. She'd probably get much more recognition for that. Kate shows Jacob the tape she procured from Wayne Enterprises, and somehow notices writing on the paddle that hits Sophie to knock her out, and figures out exactly where the gang is hiding based on the slogan, which was something from a children's orphanage or something about discipline. So Jacob is briefing his team leaders. Kate slips away to get there first because she don't need no pale, stale male helpers. You go, girl. She's gonna do it by herself. Kate shows up the abandoned building with nothing but her abnormally large head, tiny frail body, and completely OP fighting skills that allow her to dispatch a handful of henchmen who all but dwarfed her in physical size and strength. Again, you go, girl. This is where we're treated to the hallway fight sequence. Kate just manhandles this huge attacker. The second one she knocks out with ease in the elevator. The third one does something that would A, really happen, and B, end her fighting. He grabs her out of the elevator and throws her like a paperweight against a concrete wall. That would have knocked her out, possibly fractured her skull, broke some bones, because she's so small, and this guy was probably 200 some pounds, 2.5. He's a big guy. But she gets back up, easily pummels him, and another attacker with a fire extinguisher, she swings around like it's nothing, Then she throws a heavy skillet, scores a direct hit, one goon's face, falls over a table with the one guy, he cuts her. Then she completely just overpowers him and starts smashing his skull in the freezer door until she gets blindsided and knocked out from behind with his paddle. So 6 grown men, all of whom which are probably over 200 pounds, just got destroyed by this 90-pound bobblehead who again has 0 powers. But, she's been around the world and aye. You go, girl. Just killing it over here. I mean, this is utterly ridiculous, and hilarious. Hang on, I have a picture up of this. Is the one guy in the elevator. She just beats the living shit out of this guy with ease. I mean, I'm just come on, you're fucking tiny. My 4-year-old is literally probably half your body weight. He's 50 pounds. He's just built like a brick. I mean, he's not a little fat kid. And she's just so frail. I don't know. So she wakes up and Alice is sitting in a chair playing with her knife, blah, blah, blah. Kate's hoisted up by this like rope system that looks like you would see in like a 50 Shades of Grey movie by this goon. Alice is going on about Kate's father and about her gang. They're not scared of the crows, and the crows aren't their protectors. Alice tells Kate the reason she took Sophie over Kate is because Jacob values Sophie, whereas he doesn't care about Kate. He sent her away. And Sophie is the daughter Jacob always wanted, not Kate. Then hits her in the face with a paddle, knocks her out again. Outside the building Kate just went into, you see the crow security forces have arrived, and they're too little, too late, as Kate wakes up in a clinic where she's being stitched up by, surprise, her stepsister. Yes, her pretentious seeming stepsister runs an underground clinic helping people. Yeah. Stunning and brave here. Stunning and brave. She heads to the crow's headquarters to tell Daddy she was right and that he's the target of Alice's, ire and blah, blah, blah. She was never good enough. Her father says repeatedly he loves her. He tries to reassure her and wanted her to succeed, but blah, blah, blah. He pushed her away for 15 years. And she cries and whines about it. She goes back to Wayne Enterprises, basically bullies Luke Fox some more, easily discovers the Bat Cave, because she's a Batwoman, and moves the pearl necklace that was Martha Wayne was wearing when she was shot. There's a cave. She moves it and exposes the hidden elevator. Boom! Bat Cave. She starts up the power, swarmed by a bunch of badly CGI'd bats that were in there. We see then the bat suit, and Luke Fox stands in the back looking an ineffectual ancillary male character. Kate and Luke, they're looking around the bat cave. You get some more flashbacks as she notices conveniently placed newspaper clippings from about the accident. Luke tells her Bruce spent 15 years trying to figure out what went wrong when his hooks gave out and Kate's mom and sister had perished. So she has an epiphany about Batman and her own role as she pushes the button, finds some bat gadgets, weapons. His suit is there still, and this is where she decides to take the suit and the mantle of the bat. Here's where we get the episode's crown jewel and the much quoted lines of dialogue as Kate has this exchange with Luke Fox regarding the suit. Kate, I need you to fix the suit. Luke, this suit is literal perfection. Kate, it will be when it fits a woman. You just hear that song in the background. Here I am, I am woman. Ugh. I basically vomited repeatedly after watching that and then came back. Kate gets a phone call from her stepsister Mary from her clinic, from her underground, Robin Hood type clinic, stating they found one of Alice's guys and she knows where they're keeping Sophie. So then we're taken to this Gotham City Music in the Park celebration featuring, there's a ton of crow security there, and we find that one of Jacob's top men is Alice's lover. Oh yeah, we're given that twist as his one commander. I can't think of the actor's name, but he comes up on the roof and we see him kissing Alice. Yeah, and they have Sophie in a building right by the park. Alice calls Jacob and talks in circles and tells him there's a bomb in a van right behind where the crowd's seated to watch the movie. And then shows him Sophie suspended by this cable, tells him that he has to choose who to save. She hangs up, and we see a henchman then getting thrown into the frame by an unseen force. Wonder who that could be. Another one gets hoisted out by a wire, shot down from above. I mean, it's just getting comical at this point how inept these, henchmen. Like they're just worthless. Like they don't even do it. They're not even like fighters. They're just stupid. It's hilarious. So then enters the Batwoman, and she feebly attempts to look intimidating and falls, spectacularly short at it. And this is the picture that I wanted to put up here again. This is, from this scene, and just that fucking big head and that tiny little body. It's funny. So she looks like a bat-suited bobblehead. Her and Alice have a fight. Alice does something to trigger the mechanism to drop Sophie. She cuts a hole in this barrel of water, which drains up. When that water, weight goes out of that, it drops down. Sophie's hoisted up, released. Boom. She's gonna die. But luckily, Luckily, Alice and Sophie battle until Sophie falls. Kate jumps to save her, leaving her for Jacob. She left her in this trailer where she fell through, caught her. They have this, embrace, and they're kind of looking, you can see Kate looking at Sophie, and Sophie's trying to basically like examine her mouth and figure out who it is. You can tell that she sees something familiar in her. So they have their little moment there. Kate doesn't say anything. She leaves, returns to the top of the building using like the little bat grappling hook. Goes up where she's fighting Alice, but she only finds Alice's knife. And then we're, of course, treated to a scene where a small child sees her on the roof and says, "Look, it's Batman." And I'm sure some feminists were triggered by that because, that would be a man taking credit for a woman's work. The newspaper headlines show that Batman is back. And they do a montage of contemplating his return with like various headlines and news broadcasts. Sophie questions the fact that the Bat is a man because of her first-hand meeting. She sees Kate, and they start to have this awkward conversation. And then Kate is introduced to Sophie's husband. Apparently, she's not gay anymore. She was only situationally gay, which is, I don't believe that's real gay. I don't know. Check with somebody on that. I need a resource. And we meet Sophie's husband. What's his name? Tyler or something. And he is just like stereotypical like white guy. He's like out of the Our Lady of the Courageous Caucasians playbook. So Kate goes to meet Jacob and it makes him admit that he didn't want her to be a Crow officer. He tells her that the military was his dream for her, and he tells her that he only wanted to protect her because of what happened to his wife and daughter, first wife and daughter. But he offers her a job at Crow Security. He does offer her that job. She goes back to the Batcave, and the narration is Kate leaving a note for Bruce Wayne. Blah 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 blah. More ridiculousness. Kate is examining the knife from Alice, wondering why they never recovered her sister's body, and she looks at the ruby stone, the knife, and this scene is really, really funny. Somehow remembers that she's wearing a necklace with a matching ruby in it, and that her sister and her both had those as kids, because Alice is Beth. Alice is revealed as Kate's sister in the first episode. So you're basically telling us that the series' first antagonist is a pissed off sibling with daddy issues, and Alice wants to win Kate over to rule Gotham. Ugh. Oof. So that was the premiere of Batwoman. I thought the dialogue was bad. The believability of the fight scenes was cringy. It just was not good at all. Let's go over here. Let's see. I mean, we can do this. This is just the trailer from the series. We'll kind of watch through this. I mean, this is the rooftop scene here in the beginning where we meet Alice and her gang when they take Sophie. It was just the fight scenes. Like I said, man, all these guys are just complete doofuses, and they are no match for these empowered women at all. Which I have no problem with a plausible fight scene, but like I said, you're taking these, like Ruby Rose is the worst. Like Alice is using knives, she's not really hand to hand, and she caught those two idiots off guard, which they were both kind of just look like ineffectual beat cops. But I mean, there's no disrespect to law enforcement, but I mean, these two they obviously they were fodder. So, but these guys that Ruby Rose is fighting, I mean, the one was just like this guy's big. I mean, the guy she's fighting here is big. The other guy throws her against the wall. I mean, it's this guy, in the elevator. She's beating the shit out of two guys at once. The fucking frying pan, this right here. She's right before Alice has got here. She's smashing the guy's head in the refrigerator. I mean, it's like one punch from one of these dudes would have just knocked her the fuck out. And they just, keep, she's bad. She's so bad. I'm like, oh my God. It just hurts because, please, there's got to be some actresses out there that are actually like athletic looking that can act and that do look like superheroes. And that's not sexist to say that if male superheroes, for the most part, have to at least look somewhat athletic and, carry a level of muscle, why wouldn't the same be expected for a female? Equality and all. You should be held to the same standards. Not this, oh, well, that's sexist to want to make her there because this is A and this is B. And no, it doesn't make sense. This show it wasn't good. This is, of course, like I said, the Greg Berlanti Arrowverse typical stuff. Already given away that here's bobblehead Batwoman, the fight with her and Alice. That line wasn't in the show where she responded to him. I think it was "but better looking" or something like that. Yeah. It was just it was bad. I spent 3 hours reviewing this, and this review is going on probably about a half hour now. So, episode 1, it was cringy. It was bad. Like I said, you've got the top crow guys. Him and Alice are a couple. So they're, you've got that. Alice's Kate's sister, her long lost sister. So this whole thing is just funny already that they're going. This is what they're going with, But no, I didn't like it. Like I said, I've watched it. I've watched episode 3 times now. That's 3 times more than I wanted to write this little in-depth review for you guys. So let me know what you think if you watched it. If you plan on watching any of it, I'm going to keep watching. Like I said, I'll do a review for every episode of it. As long as it's on. I made fun of it. I poked fun at the trailers. I admitted when I thought they did something right. But this episode, to me, they didn't do anything right. I mean, the tone of the city and the backdrop of everything is cool. The look of the Crow's security forces is cool. But as far as the dialogue and the acting go, it's a CW show. I've watched enough of The Flash, and I've watched 5 episodes of Supergirl. So I know what's going on with these shows, I've seen some of the Arrow. Arrow, I don't mind. I never had a problem with Arrow, but I've only seen a couple episodes of it. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm Etep Wakuian of the Place to Be Reviews. Please consider subscribing to help us grow the channel. And as always, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, The Place to Be Reviews. With that Facebook page, The Place to Be Reviews, we also have a Facebook group, the official Place to Be Reviews fan page. Go on over and join that group. We just admitted a bunch of new members. Please enjoy. Post your content in there. Memes, whatever. Just don't be a dick, and everything will be fine. Yeah. Tonight, live, 8:30, episode number 67 of the podcast. My guest will be the Groovinator, Salvador, the Amazing MJ, and Coach Loudy. Jam-packed to the gills with goodness on Monday night, going in raw right here on the Place to Be Reviews. I'm Etep Wakuian, and if I don't see you, have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.